This week's episode is entitled Incognito. Gibbs and Lala must go undercover to retrieve vital information for the most recent Tomahawk missile schematics. The entire recap of the show before the episodes were scenes between Lala and Gibbs. Last week's scene came up in that recap. Eddie is shown again. And we open with a voiceover by Mark Harmon.
Workplace distractions.
Now, at the beginning of this series, it did say, "This is the story of her."
It's the story of her.
I really liked that we were still learning things about the characters without it being like really super obvious that it was like a story about her. Obviously, there's an element of you see and understand what the writers want you to see. This episode just felt a little more like the writers didn't trust the audience to understand what was happening independent from the narration. I really like Lala's character and am excited that we learned more about her. As an audience member, it did not feel like we were being trusted to figure this out by ourselves, or maybe there just wasn't enough time to really fully hash things out without being like told some details. It felt like everything new learned about Lala from this episode was spoon-fed to us and narrated for us. I will say the acting was fantastic, the subtleties of the emotions that were happening, the pain, all of it, really great, but it didn't feel like anything that the audience was genuinely learning about the character, more something that was very clearly being presented to us, which I guess is just TV and movie, so maybe I have issues with other things. I think I would prefer more subtleties about character attributes. Also, I sort of found it irritating that present Mark Harmon Gibbs was narrating about what Lala was going to tell him in the future from the point in time that we were currently watching. I think I would have preferred him to have just said what he was thinking like then within that episode. I don't think I want narration for things to come. Maybe it was just more apparent for me in this episode, but I feel like in previous episodes the narration wasn't so specific and like about not in the moment. I do appreciate the concept, Lala feeling like she was being boxed in.
If you put yourself in a box at home too, something's gotta give.
Used throughout the episode. There was a very obvious through line that the writers were wanting the audience to pick up on, and I thought that was good. With all of that being said, let's talk about some specifics. I have been so against Lala and Gibbs becoming a couple, becoming a thing. And I'm still very much against them being together romantically. At this point, I'm okay with having them care a lot about each other. I don't want them to get involved romantically. I think at this point, I want Lala to get back on good terms with Eddie. Also, so sad we didn't get the scene where she is telling Eddie what happened. I need to see Eddie's reaction. This will determine whether or not I'm actually for Eddie's character. I want to see that scene. It felt like such a letdown that we didn't get to see that entire scene. But that's okay. I am so glad that she didn't make out with Gibbs. Gibbs just had his wife and daughter die. He is not emotionally in the right headspace right now to be in a romantic relationship. Again, I do like that Gibbs clearly cares for Lala, and Lala clearly cares for Gibbs. She's kind of just going through a lot right now as well. But both really just care for each other like good friends. As a really good friend. I do think it's adorable that they were celebrating Vera's successful profiling program starting.
Criminal profiling program!
Glad to see the more fun side of the characters rather than just work. I did really like the crime scene investigation scene. Lala is clearly not on her A game, and it has been established in previous episodes that she's typically the first one to the crime scene.
Dominguez ain't in? Where is she?
Where she always is, I'm guessing. Already at the scene.
I just got the call 15 minutes ago, so who the hell's calling her?
Has usually looked through all of the evidence. I could feel the chaos of that scene, just kind of from Lala's point of view. Everyone else was kind of being normal, but being able to see the point of view of Lala, we could tell that there was a lot happening. I was worried that this was going to be used as evidence and they were going to run it or something and everyone was going to be like, Lala was the killer. So I'm glad that didn't happen in this case. I'm glad to see that Eddie is a normal dude. He is not a bad guy, he's not a jerk. The writers aren't trying to be like, Eddie's the worst, Lala get with Gibbs, nothing like that. At this point, I do not see Lala and Eddie staying together. I would like them to get probably back on good terms. Next episode may even be Lala saying something like, yeah, Eddie and I are taking a break. I want to actually see that scene and not just be told about it after it happened, but whatever. I do like that we got some more screen time for other members of the team. The bowl of cereal.
I'm good.
Sure.
What an olive branch to be shot down.
You offer me a bowl of cereal and that makes you different.
It's not that bowl of cereal's fault. I thought the scene where Franks and Mary Jo were yelling at each other was funny.
Greg Piccolo did some bad deeds.
Come on, Mary Jo. Use the word deeds.
I will consider this a pretty heavy Lala episode, but again, we still learn a lot about other characters. I liked learning more about Frank's and Mary Jo's personalities in this way than any narration ever given. Frank's likes to be exact, he's direct, and he's willing to make his stance known. Mary Jo's memory is probably relatively average.
Maybe not those exact words, but
She's willing to get back in Frank's face, not willing to be pushed around by him. Both of them willing to work together, though, to reach a common goal. These are just subtle character personalities that we are learning throughout the story about each of the characters that I just appreciate and enjoy seeing. I love Vera and Lala's friendship so much. Vera was sort of extra in the beginning, but I think she sort of softened a little bit, and just the fact that she was so supportive of Lala this episode makes me like her character more. Also, really just gold star to Vera for not prying about Lala's personal life. Like, she clearly knew some more information, gave Lala a chance to talk. When Lala didn't want to talk, she said okay, and then left. I'm glad they revisited that conversation later. It feels so sudden that Lala's personality changed so quickly. Like, there are subtleties in the previous episodes of her being on time or being particular,
So you're on my squad then?
Nope. You're on mine.
not being bothered when joked with.
Keep reading. I could use a couple pointers.
Okay.
But it just felt very sudden in this episode. I think I would have liked to see more cracks in the armor before she totally broke down. Just more like subtleties. But maybe we just don't have enough time. The show was only picked up for 13 episodes originally. It has been extended to the 18 episode length of a full season. Maybe we just gotta move things along. Frank's and the Chief's friendship is weird. Like, Frank seemed to sort of push the Chief around, but clearly the Chief, Cliff Wheeler, has some power moves that he's willing to use.
Or I'm gonna have a whole lot to say about what happened in '86.
We love Randy so much. Randy is adorable. I love this entire scene. I thought it was a great way to see that Randy will come at an interview tactic differently than Frank's, but can still get the information. I do like that Lala recognizes the power dynamic happening in the workplace, and she stands up for herself. I do respect her independence here, but I do think she will eventually need to allow Gibbs to help her a little bit more. Not right off the bat, because I think that will especially be a process for Lala. Hopefully we get to see her accept the bowl of cereal that is offered, not be so quick to be defensive about it. At this point, we've accepted that Gibbs will be sent into stressful situations. I think Austin Stowell did a great job at being stressed and nervous looking, but not overacting that and being subtle with it. The aspect of teamwork is stressed here as well.
Randy, you can jump out if you want.
I'm going in with you, boss.
And the way that he approached Gibbs here, he didn't try to move quickly or wasn't aggressive about it. Just another sign that Gibbs is kind of a loose cannon in the field, but also an extremely high stress situation, so sort of understandable. Also, I think I would have liked if this guy tried harder. What if he actually tried? Maybe he was trying his best. Again, high stress situation. Also, there's no way this isn't gonna come up again, right?
You say whether he made any copies of this?
Claims he didn't.
I'm not really sure why he asked about Dominguez specifically. Yeah, it was an intense situation, but I'm not sure why he didn't ask about Gibbs unless he knows more about Dominguez that we'll learn later. Narrator Gibbs closes the episode with Lala always busting out of the box.
Busting out of the box.
What happens to Lala and Randy and Vera and Mary Jo? Because they're totally new characters to the NCIS universe. My theory is someone is gonna get killed off at the end of this season, and I think it might be Randy. He honestly seems like a pretty vital team member. He gets about the same, if not more, screen time sometimes than Mary Jo or Vera. They are both listed as main characters. Randy, Caleb Foote, is not. He's listed under as a guest star. He's probably gonna get killed off at the end of the season, or someone from the main cast is gonna get killed off and Caleb Foote will become a main character, and at this point, if any one of the team members dies, I will be devastated. I really like Lala's character. I do appreciate that we got an episode dedicated to her character. Hopefully we get more like these in the future. I think there's definitely more that will be unpacked from this episode as episodes come. I wish this would have happened maybe over 2 episodes, not just 1. The episode felt sort of rushed. All in all, I enjoyed this episode. I'm excited to learn more about the characters, and I'm looking forward to when Lala accepts a bowl of cereal from Gibbs at some point in the series. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.